Thank you. Let's bring in Gideon AI Threat Detection founder Aaron Cohen, Rabbi Chaim Mentz of the Chabad of Bel Air, and LA Mom magazine founder Shirin Yadigar. Thank you all for coming on. Shirin, to you first. As Ashley was saying right there, FBI. So let's put the picture up first. Once again, this is Siraj Wahhaj, right? And he's with Mamdani. There you see him. Siraj, of course, is on the far right over there. Fox News writes this about the FBI agent, one of them that Ashley was talking about. Retired FBI agent Frank Pellegrino, who investigated the February 26, 1993 attack at the World Trade Center, said Zohran Mamdani's embrace of Siraj Wahhaj is an example of Mamdani's ignorance of history. Either he doesn't know who Wahhaj is or he doesn't care. Whichever it is, Mamdani looks foolish. And Mamdani says, oh, the mayors take pictures with Siraj.
He knows very well who the imam is. And you know, Trace, I've always told my girls, who you associate yourself with is how you'll be perceived. He very intentionally took that photo to tell the world that he stands with terrorism. This imam has applauded the terrorists. There's no question about it. And when you are arm in arm with a terrorist sympathizer, then what does that mean you are? He's making a clear statement here. And honestly, we deserve more than that. You know, I was born in Iran. I was surrounded by beautiful Muslim people. He is not a peace-loving Muslim. Zohran Mamdani stands for terrorism. When he was asked to denounce Hamas, he couldn't do it. Yeah. What kind of role model is he for the future of our children and the future of New Yorkers? Yeah, it's exactly right. And, you know, to you now, Rabbi, because his defense was all the mayors take pictures with Siraj. I mean, it's no big deal.
Deflection, deflection, deflection. I got to tell you straight up. This man was told by his handlers, stop saying Jihad International. I know religion, and boy, am I very religious. And my spirituality tells me how to live my life. This man is a very radical Muslim. There's a billion Muslims out there. There's maybe 200 million that think like him. His thoughts is international jihad. For him to stand next to these guys, it's not like the Fox you just put up the goes like this. Maybe he did know, maybe didn't know. Right. No, that's what I believe in. And that's what I'm bringing to the table. But I'll smile, vote for me, and then, you know, I'll give you a few goodies, and then watch how your life will change.
President Trump said this about Hamas. Watch.
We made a deal with Hamas that, you know, they're going to be very good, they're going to behave, they're going to be nice, and if they're not, we're going to go and we're going to eradicate them if we have to. They'll be eradicated, and they know that.
And Aaron Cohen, I mean, Israel is also trying to save these Palestinians and who Hamas is killing inside Gaza.
That's right, Trace. And so there's a couple complicated pieces that I'm seeing sort of unfold right now. First of all, the hostages are home. It's time to slow things down. That's what we do in the counterterror world. Slow it down. Hostages are back. First main objective has been carried out, but now we've got Palestinians who are being executed. And regardless of what the world says, that matters to us in Israel. And if we see an opportunity to be able to protect these Palestinians, which we've been doing for 24 months with very selective airstrikes, leaflets, moving Palestinians into other cities so that we can go after Hamas, it matters. So it's really patience. It's persistence, slow this thing down, a little more surgical with the operations, but we're keeping an eye on these Palestinians because it's very dangerous in this vacuum right now with Hamas.
Meantime, you have Robert De Niro on MSNBC calling Stephen Miller, the deputy chief of staff, a Nazi. Watch.
He will not want to leave. He set it up with his, I guess he's the Goebbels of the cabinet, Stephen Miller. He's a Nazi. Yes, he is. And he's Jewish, and he should be ashamed of himself.
Why doesn't somebody, Shirin, tell Robert De Niro to shut his trap once in a while? He says the most idiotic things.
Well, I think he needs to apologize, first of all, because the Nazis gassed and killed 6 million Jews. Right. So he should be ashamed of himself for using that word and weaponizing it against a Jewish person, first of all. Second of all, he has no place speaking on the world political stage. He's an actor. He's a great actor. He should stick to acting. And I think he really needs to apologize because there are millions of people who look up to him. He is a figure out there. He's an entertainer. How dare he use that word Nazi? They're calling President Trump a Nazi when he's creating peace in 8 countries around the world. I mean, this word cannot be weaponized and used against us. It's ridiculous. It's ludicrous.
And yet it is. Ceasefire, Rabbi. It's brittle. What do you think? I know you're going to weigh in on De Niro, but of just the ceasefire, what do you think? Do you think
there is no ceasefire. There's no. The president just said, "I brought peace to the Middle East." If there was peace, It's like peace between America and Canada. You don't go and shoot 2 Israeli soldiers that are on their side of the line. The ceasefire, they're never going to go and let down their arms. It's not going to happen. About Robert De Niro, great actor. No one's going to go and say anything about it. But let's be honest. You know why he was able to do that? Because for the last 2 years, Jews have become dehumanized. Jews don't matter. We can spit in your face. We can go and tattoo your synagogues. We can go and do what we did in Manchester. Why? You are not human anymore. And Robert De Niro was easy. I can go tell a Jew he's a Nazi.
Lastly, Fox News headline, 3 killed in a U.S. strike on Colombian ELN vessel smuggling narcotics. Another strike, Aaron. I mean, Trump says, look, we're going after the drug cartels. We're going after these traffickers. What do you think?
Good. It's time to start treating these cartels for what they are. These are terrorist groups. He's designated them as a terrorist group, which gives the United States the ability to be able to fold them into the DoD platform for precision targeting operations. Look, 100,000 Americans killed because of fentanyl. These aren't speedboats with basic drug dealers. These are insurgents carrying millions and millions of dollars worth of fentanyl, killing Americans. It's time we got active. President Trump has completely flipped the paradigm against this organization. And the only way to take back America is to treat these insurgents for what they are. These are terrorist narcos, period.
And the administration says they've got the intel to back it up. Aaron, Rabbi, Sharon, thank you all.
Hi, everyone. I'm Brian Kilmeade. I want you to do me a favor. I want you to click to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page. This is the only way that I know for sure that you're not going to miss any great commentary, any great news bites, any great interviews coming your way on Fox. You can get it all here on YouTube. So subscribe right now.